Morning, everybody. Welcome on into SNSN here on a Monday morning. We have a special program here for you today, and you can see the beautiful people that are in the studio right now. And no, I know it's not me that I'm talking about, even though it's usually who I say is.
You're a beautiful person.
No, I never said
I didn't
that.
think so.
Paul Ash, and then myself, and we have the candidates. On the Democratic ticket, the endorsed candidates for first Selectman and Selectmen, and that's Tina Falck and Rich Grabowski. You guys, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So, first question I'm going to ask, and it's pretty much it's pretty easy question, but like Tina, like as far as like you've already been a Selectman, you've been into you, so you're familiar with the office. Now, Tina, you're very familiar with town procedures and how the town operates and all that stuff. And I remember standing outside of the senior center with you about a week before you said, and I said to you, do you know who the Democrats are going to choose or whatever for their first Selectman candidate? Mm-hmm. And you said you didn't know, which I respect because whether you had a decision made or not, you can't say anything.
At that point,
right? I
did not.
Okay.
I honestly did not know.
Which is pretty cool. I think it's really funny because as soon as I heard your name, I went, ah! Like we were home and Melissa went, ah! Just like that. So I was like, it was really kind of surreal because I never in my wildest dreams did I think that Tina Falck would be running for first Selectman in the town of Griswold. So
never in my wildest dreams.
So why?
Well, I think the last time I was on your show, I kind of alluded to, I sit back, I watch, I listen. And sure.
And then Rich, when you talk, just grab it.
Okay.
And I kept hearing about, you could go into the grocery store. There was a lot of disappointment within the town. A lot of disappointment, conversation up at the senior center. It didn't matter where I went, and I listened. And it seemed like division in town was growing deeper, and it bothered me.
It bothered a lot of people.
It bothered a lot of
Sure.
people, and it was impacting, I think, the way the town was run. If you can't have, harmony, I know it sounds odd, but if you can't have unity within the town hall, within departments, within commissions and boards, you're not going to go anywhere. It's harmful. And that bothered me. And I think that was the one thing when folks started talking to me about running, I had to give it a lot of thought. And I said, yeah, we have to work together to really do we have some healing to do. And I believe we can do that. Rich, I don't know.
Rich, yeah, let me get your opinion. Or your reasons. Again, you were a selectman.
Yes.
At one point, so you've opted to run again. So why?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Initially I had no intentions of running again, and I got a phone call asking me if I would be interested. And my first question was, well, who do you have running for first selectman? And they said, Tina's running for first selectman. So that perked my interest a little bit. And the next day, matter of fact, I sat with Tina and we talked for a few minutes. And knowing her the way I did from my experiences with the town hall and the energy she brings to her task and efforts and everything else, I says, I got to get involved with this. This is going to be something positive and something that's going to move forward. So I says, I'm in.
Okay. That's a good answer. I mean, I don't think I would expect it.
Yeah,
Paul, would you have expected anything different, or
I appreciate that. So
do you want a caveat off of that, or
no, I just think it's a great team.
Mhm.
It's a great team. He has a lot of knowledge. He's done this before, so we can work together. And I think, and yes, I do have energy. I will tell you.
which I have seen firsthand.
Yeah, I do.
Don't cut yourself short because you have a lot of knowledge as well. Running the senior center takes a lot of knowledge to have it run like it did. So don't cut yourself short.
Yeah, it runs pretty well. I'm proud. I'm proud of the
That's
senior
right.
center.
And
But
you
then
will be-
again, going back to that whole unity thing, I have Lisa and I have Joanne. I've always had incredible staff, and we get along. And it's not my way or the highway. I always consult with Lisa, with Joanne. What do you think? And we work together to solve problems. And that's why it's so successful up there.
And that's what makes a good leader because you have the people around you. You can't know everything as a leader.
No.
You have to depend on the people that you work with. They're the ones that have a lot of ideas as well.
Yeah.
So you have to
Yeah.
depend on them as well.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good team around you, guess what? You're gonna fail.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's true.
Somebody told me years ago when I worked at Connecticut College, and I remember a professor saying to me that the speed of the leader is the speed of the gang. And how true that is.
Quick comment. Scott Fryer puts in there. He said, "I feel whoever wins this election, it's a win for Griswold as a whole." Any comment on that, or either one of you?
I hope I believe he's going to be correct. You know, I think
Yes.
that the people involved, the ones running now, all seem to have very positive attitudes and they're energetic. And I look forward to being part of the team in November.
Yeah.
So, one thing that has kind of come under fire over the last few elections that I've noticed in different boards is, well, what have you done? You know, what's your record like in town? Do you have a record in town? Not a record, but you know what I mean. As for what have you done for the town of Griswold? So I want you guys to each take a moment or two to talk about your record in town. What kind of public service that you've given to the town of Griswold? Tina, if you would go ahead and start that.
You want me to start that?
Yes, please.
I was going to let Rich go
Oh,
first.
you know what? Then Rich, go ahead.
Okay.
Rich is like, oh.
Are you okay with going?
I use several things. I have a lifetime, the whole adult life of working in various committees and appointments and elections and stuff like that, and which I'm very proud of. Being involved with the community in many different aspects over the years. If I have to highlight a few things, I think number one would be my time on the Board of Finance. Initially, when I got on the Board of Finance, everything was political. I mean, really strictly down the line political. And slowly we got some newer people coming in, where to the point where we were a 7-member board and there were no Democrats and Republicans. We all just got, we didn't always agree, but we were able to listen to one another and work things out. And at the time, the school system was in double sessions, went to rented portable classrooms.
Wow, that was a while ago. Because
Yeah.
I was a part of double sessions.
And,
Is that right?
and then, I mean, the history of it all. And then and they had a couple failed referendums for new schools. And then we got involved. I was the member of the Board of Finance that was on the school building committee that built the high school. And we got that all done. And we were able to, at the time, the town had a very poor bond rating, but we were able to fix that and move along. And we were successful at it. And so being part of that, both the Board of Finance and the school building committee was a time in my life that I was proud of.
Is that we're gonna?
That's pretty much it. I mean, after that, I still, I was on the building committee that converted the bank into the town hall, moving from one building to the other and all that. In my 24 years as a tax collector, I was successful at that, I believe. Every year after the final audits were completed, I was depositing more money in the account than was needed to support the budget. So that was a record that I was proud of.
Absolutely.
Funny because I remember when I didn't understand how town politics or town offices ran. I did my taxes. I was like, "Ugh!" And I yelled at Rich one day. I did. It was before I knew the man, and I went, what the? And I have to say, and I think I've mentioned this to you before. I went in there and I yelled at you, and I felt horrible. And I did go back and apologize because I felt bad for, being an asshole, pretty much. But I will say,
We all have our moments.
that Mr. Grabowski was an incredible professional. He didn't react. He stood there no matter what. I didn't call him any names or anything like that, because that I would. But he listened to everything I said. It wasn't much of a rant, but and then he offered solutions to what I could or should
I'm
do.
not surprised.
So I walked out of there, when you were tax collector.
Mhm.
Now this is nothing against Leona. I think Leona is
Oh, she's done
wonderful,
fantastic.
She is.
fantastic.
Yes.
But I'm just talking about my personal experience with you, and I walked out of there going, he's just a really nice guy, and that was it. So anyway, I wanted to kind of drop that nugget about what because you could have got fired up, you know what I mean? But I don't think that's really who you might be.
But his reaction helped calm you down.
Absolutely, spot on.
It's how you approach these things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was a jerk, and he came, just totally diffused the situation, and I learned by that interaction.
It's good.
So
It's good.
I appreciate
Thank you
for
for
that. So let's see.
Do you remember the day?
No,
Probably not.
I had a lot of them.
There's a lot of us that probably went in, and it really it wasn't me against him, or was it me against? It was my frustration of maybe I didn't have the money for the taxes at that point,
Mhm.
and all this stuff. So anyway, yeah. But I just want to comment here. Daryl says, "Happy to see you are running, Tina."
Thank you, Daryl.
And that's from Daryl from the Healthy Computer, School Street, Jewett City.
Next to dog track.
Next,
Next to dog
no
groomer.
dog track over there.
Dog groomer.
All right, Tina, why run?
Please, the
Or-
next rumor that'll be is that there's a dog track coming to Griswold. And we don't want to start that rumor.
Maybe.
So yeah, public service. Let's talk about your public service
Okay,
record.
public service. Well, as everybody knows, I think I've been the senior center director for 17 years.
Mhm.
So I've been with the town for 17 years, and that was my first experience working with the town. I can tell you that the senior center budget has always been healthy, and I rarely have gone over budget on things. I tend to run a tight ship. We have grown the Meals on Wheels program, and as I started working in the senior center, I had one of our seniors come to us one day, and there was a situation with one of her children that she needed help. And that's kind of how I got started on the path with the social services. Social services, not just for the seniors, but for the community, for families, fathers, moms, grandparents. That is a very, very big part of what I do. I would say it's at least 50% of what I'm doing up at the senior center. And it used to be for energy assistance through TVCCA. You would have to go into Norwich to fill out your applications. So I switched that process, brought it to town, and we now work with TVCCA, and we assist them with the energy assistance program. And Lisa, she's online doing the applications. And again, it's not just for seniors, it's for the entire community. We got involved with United Way for the monthly food distribution. We started that shortly before COVID, and it became very critical during COVID. And we've continued it every month since then. And we're now up behind the schools. So the food distribution, that has grown. So that's a big thing that we do. The other thing that I'm really proud of is the emergency fuel fund. And that started there was a donation made. And through the energy assistance applications, you identify other needs, social service needs. And we would have people call. There were people calling, they were out of oil. They were out of kerosene. They had no heat. So through a donation, we started the emergency fuel fund. And that is strictly run by the senior center. That is run by the board, the senior center board. And we started doing yearly fundraisers. Hugely successful. And I think we started that, it was over 10 years ago. And I can tell you, and I'm very proud of this, that we've been able to assist families, priorities given to seniors and families with children. And we've been able to support to the tune of over $50,000 in emergency fuel funds. And that gets folks up and running, and they're not at risk of freezing. So that was a biggie for us. And I serve on the Housing Authority, on the board up there. And the
Senior Housing Authority.
Yep, Senior Housing Authority, and the Health and Safety Committee. So I'm also serving on that.
And these are all things that you're doing well before running for first select.
Absolutely. I was on the advisory board for the Senior Resources, the Agency on Aging. I served on their advisory board for several years. I am a strong supporter of the Alzheimer's Association. And I
know
am
that's something very dear to your heart.
very dear to my heart. And I have to tell you, you would think that I had a family member, perhaps, who suffered from dementia. That's not the case. I started to see situations, and it kind of grabbed me. So we started doing the Walk to End Alzheimer's, and I think we're up over $1,600. We just had our fundraiser for them. And I am also, I'm a certified dementia practitioner. That was something I did on my own because I wanted to learn more about it. And I have a support group every other Saturday morning for people who are caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's/dementia. So I do that every other Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. So that's...
Now, my story, I had a story with Rich. I have a story with you.
Okay.
I have many stories.
Were you angry at me too?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. However, I was very upset. And you know where I'm going with this.
I'm not sure.
Really? Come on. Have you ever remember? And I don't mean upset, mad. I was upset, worried.
Okay.
And this is when I was just started this, and I didn't have anything. It was a leap of faith to do this whole thing.
Mhm.
And people were saying, you ain't gonna be around 6 months doing that. And I had no oil. And I went into Tina's office, literally crying, because somebody said, go to Tina. She'll, may be able to give you direction.
Mhm.
And I had no idea about the fuel. And I had 150 or 125 or 150, I think it was, gallons delivered the next day. And I've never forgotten it. And to this day, I haven't, and I won't. So
I have a rule.
I've always been very, very thankful for that, because you know what? It just goes to show you that no matter what, no matter who you are, you can fall on some sort of a hard time.
Absolutely.
So
You never know. It could be me. It could be me tomorrow.
Sure.
You do not know. But I do have a rule, and my rule is nobody is hungry, nobody is cold. Those are my two principles.
If I may add just one thing to that, if you look up the term above and beyond, you're going to find a picture of Tina Falck.
Oh, thanks, Rich. Thank you. I don't know. It's just me. What you see is what you get.
No. And
that's-
I can actually sit here and tell you these are personal experiences that I've had
Mhm.
with each one of you. In the past, that can sit here and tell you that, vouch for what you're saying. It's like, yeah, this is them. This is what they're talking about, and they ain't kidding. So, Paul, do you have anything?
Yeah, I have a question. You've done all these things with the senior center, but now you're going to have to cut that tie and move into a different leadership role. How do you think what you did with the senior center now is going to help you if you were selected as the first selectman?
Well, I have an incredibly strong work ethic. And I think that comes from way back from Sister Immacula. But I do. I have a strong work ethic. I find that it's going to be hard to leave the senior center. I'm not going to leave them, though. I'm still going to be a part of it. I will be at their monthly meetings. I would still be a member of the Griswold Senior Center. And I would still continue to do the emergency fuel fund breakfasts when we start that. I will still be up at the food distributions. I will still continue to do all of those things. But learning over these past 17 years, I think there are a lot of good qualities that will carry into the selectman's office. And one of them is, once you are committed to doing something, just tell me I can't do it and I will do it. I mean, and that's always been a joke with us. I will bring unity. I will communicate with my staff. And I don't want to say my staff, with the staff, because it's not my staff. I would communicate with the Board of Selectmen, the entire board, not just myself. All of, I think that your schedule has to be communicated. I would start right back up again with monthly department head meetings, because it's important that you know what your department heads need, how they're feeling, what they're unhappy about, what they're happy with. And it would be reaching out to the committees, the commissions, communicating with them, and really just bringing it all together again. And I think from there, things will start to flow again in the town of Griswold.
Rich, anything off of
No, I
that?
think that's the key. If we're all
Well,
communicating.
what is your history of a tax collector, which is the money job in town? How did that prepare you for as a selectman when you?
Well, I think there's my whole history, not just being the tax collector, but being. I think Tina touched on it quite a bit. The communication things and keeping everybody informed and everybody moving in the same direction, and listening. I'm always listening to people and getting their input and discussion and back and forth. And I found that that's been the one thing that's helped things progress forward. If we all get on the same page and we all get thinking in the same direction, at least, I mean, we all have different points of view as how to get there, but at least you're going in the right direction. You're not divided.
But different points of view are a good thing.
Oh yeah, no question about it. I mean, nobody has all the answers, but
No,
you got to listen and discuss and
you do.
formulate the best way to solve the issue.
That's why you need a team.
Exactly.
Team is the exact word.
Yeah.
It has to be a team.
That's why it's a board of selectmen, right?
Yes, it
That's
is.
All right. Well, you can pull that microphone to you so we can hear you. Yeah. Christina jumps in there. I think it's somebody you know, Tina.
Might be.
Mr. Rogers always said, when times are hard, look for the helpers. She says she's one of the helpers. Heart emoji. Literally put the heart emoji.
Yes, I love you too.
Okay. I don't know who this is because they didn't click their name and it comes up as Facebook user.
Okay.
One of the very best characteristics I value so highly in Tina is her ability to take the time to listen to people without judgment. And then, if action is necessary, she gets it done.
Thank you.
True.
Thank you.
Now I got to find out who that was. Hold on. I got to find
My
out.
sister.
No, it's Jennifer Gothier.
Oh,
Jen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get into probably one of the squeakiest wheel in town,
All right.
economic development.
Famous words. We're
Yeah.
hearing it everywhere.
I'm sure.
Everywhere you go.
So, what would you that everybody in the last couple of years, like, what's going on? Nobody knows. All we know is nothing. Crickets. What do you feel that your board can accomplish with economic development, and how do you think you'd get there?
Well, all right. And I don't want to kind of stumble on this because there's nothing to stumble about.
I mean,
It's-
grant
it's
funding.
important.
I mean, is there a lot of that available?
Grant
or-
funding is an important part of it. But as I said before, we really were on a very positive path.
Mhm.
And things were moving. And then suddenly it seemed we weren't hearing anything anymore. And then we heard that the data centers moved on to another town, and that wasn't going to happen. That to me was a big shock. And I think it's important, and just for me personally, I really want to know what happened. So, I mean, I've been talking to people, and I have a sense of where things may have gone wrong. I know that same thing with the senior center, the pricing all went up. And I think that happened with the project down on 164. So you have to take that into account. But whatever happened, tell us what happened. We need to know what happened. And by creating a team in the town of Griswold again, it's almost like putting out the welcome sign.
Yep.
You have to make people feel comfortable. You have to let them know that we appreciate their interest in the town of Griswold. And you have to stay in constant contact. Work with the town planner, work with the Economic Development Committee, and planning and zoning, and make it happen. But it's not going to happen if you do not put all of these folks together to work together.
Yeah. What kind of potential do you think does Griswold have? I mean, obviously, I think the sky is the limit. One of the things that I put as a comment on Paul and our favorite board, Griswold Now, was about I got kind of jumped on about why. Now, this is my own personal feeling. I feel the multi-purpose field is a win for this town.
Mhm.
And I feel even the sign in front of Griswold Public Schools is a win for this town
Mhm.
image. The senior center, when it was built, it's a win for this town. These are all things and that I feel that there are pieces to the puzzle. The infrastructure is a win for this town.
It is.
You know, and you put all these things together, people are going to want to build here. People are going to want to move here. Values will go up. You continue, you know, and people, you know, with real estate, businesses will come up down 164. That'll up.
Yes.
Because once that goes in, you're going to start getting serious people. You're going to start getting real serious people.
Absolutely.
And that's, what does that do? That helps the tax base.
Yes.
That's what I feel, but I'm not running. So I'm going to let the candidates take that. What kind of potential does this town have?
I think it's limitless, to be honest with you. And we do have the zoning in place. So there's commercial properties that are zoned for that purpose. If we can get the infrastructure to them, because anybody you talk to about coming into town and building a facility of any kind is the infrastructure.
Yep.
You have sewer and water. If you don't have that, bye, I'm leaving you.
Got nothing.
So, I mean, we do have areas up on 201 and 164 that has shown a lot of interest over the years. Sometimes if you go back to even all the way back to the dog track days, I mean, we as a community shot ourselves in the foot multiple times, but now the atmosphere has completely changed. People are very interested in it and very focused on, because they realize that it makes for a strong tax base. I will say this though, it's my belief anyway, when you expand the tax base like that, it's not necessarily mean your taxes are going to go down significantly, but it will supply the money to do the services that you want. You know, fire departments, police department, you know, things of that nature. You see that in surrounding towns.
Sure.
Their tax
Absolutely,
base
yeah.
grow, and they have, you know, and I think that's what people are really, really interested in seeing done. You know, as the potential is, I think it's limitless. I mean, if we have the mindset and when a business comes to town and we're open to them, we greet them and you welcome them type thing, I think that enhances everything and moves things forward. If you stop putting up barriers, well then, you know, that's no good.
I just like to make one comment. You talked about zoning. Just so people know that the economic development team had a lot to
Which
do.
you are a member of.
Had a lot to do with getting that zoning changed. Recommendations came out of economic development to the zoning board to make these changes so that it could be changed to commercial property.
Yeah.
So the problem I have with the economic development committee is they don't communicate. Nobody knows they did this. And I've been pushing that for a long time, but they are doing things. So just so people know, that's how the zoning got changed.
Well, that's a prime example of my
Yeah.
comment on communication.
Right.
Yeah.
Working
You have to have
together.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Still go back to Lisbon Landing, could have been Griswold Landing.
Story for another day.
It doesn't happen overnight, and I think that's what people have to realize. You know,
Some of this stuff takes 6, 8, 10 years.
there is a process, but it's just starting out on the right foot, and it has to be positive. It has to be positive, and it's going to take a lot of hard work, but it's going to take a lot of hard work with many people.
Yeah.
It's just the whole process, especially if you're dealing with the state of Connecticut, if you're looking for grants or financial aid in any way, there's a big process to it. It's not simply fill out an application, getting it approved. You know, there's levels at the state level you have to go through. I'll give you the perfect example. We're on the housing authority up here, and we got a $2 million grant to renovate all of McCluggage Manor, and the application was accepted. It went to the General Assembly Finance. It was funded. It went to the governor's office. He signed off on it. It's at OPM. We're still waiting for
But the
to
money,
release the money.
Yeah.
There's
For the
no
money.
reason why not.
Yeah.
And
Why hasn't it been released? Do we know?
the only explanation I've gotten is there's been some changes. You know, there was a person that they dealt with at OPM who was supposed to release the money, went to another job or retired, and the new person come in, didn't know where they left off. And they thought that the money has already been released, and it hadn't. I'll get back to you. And it just, taking time.
Got it.
But it's the
coming
the
in
nature of the
circles.
beast, if you will, and you just gotta have to be patient and
Funding, it's a funny thing. It can take a lot of time
Yeah.
to come through.
Senior center, how long did that take?
A long time.
Yeah.
It took a long
12
time.
years?
Yeah, it was over 10 years that we worked on it, the building committee, sure. Yeah.
So-
And,
Yeah.
and then, but it's there, and Griswold should be proud. I know there were a lot of controversies throughout the process, sadly. And yeah, there were some mistakes made, but what I hope people realize and what they see is that we did the best that we could do. And then when COVID came, we had multiple contractors who everything went into standstill. It just stopped.
Yeah.
And by
And
the
it
time
wasn't just you guys.
no, and by the time we started, ramping back up again, the cost of materials and the delay in receiving materials, everything. And so now
Right,
you're paying contractors for a longer period of time. But what we did do, and I'm really proud of this too, was I got a phone call from Heather Summers, and it was a couple of years ago, and she said to me, "You've got overnight to come up with a $1 million wish list. What do you need?" And this was a couple of years ago. And so Todd and I worked on it with the building chair that night. What are
This
the
is when
things
Todd
that we
was,
need?
was for selectmen, correct?
No, I don't believe so.
No? Okay.
And we came up with a list, and Heather submitted it to the bond commission, and it was approved. But we knew that out of that, and we were approved for 1.2 million. And we knew that out of that 1.2 million, the second referendum that we went to ask for more money for the 760, we knew that was going to go right back to the town.
Right.
That was always, so we didn't come up with a
You just needed it to be forwarded for a little bit.
exactly. And so that 760 did come back to the town, and the town did receive the 1.2 million. It was back on May 5th. I wasn't aware of it until more toward the end of May. We didn't know.
Yeah.
So good things came out of that too.
So,
if I
go
just
ahead.
try to
Yeah,
add
go
to
for it.
that a little bit, it was,
Yeah.
there was a firestorm about the cost overruns and stuff, and the Board of Finance was, literally, I was a selectman then, and I watched them, really be a little overcritical, I thought, of the building committee, but their reaction to it and their steadfast approach, they not only got the $1.2 million from the state, but they also got $411,000 from the USDA.
Yeah.
And they did that on their own. It wasn't the Board of Selectmen, it wasn't the finance board or the finance director. It was the town, the senior center building committee that went out. They could have very easily taken the 760 and say, "Okay, we're done. We can finish the job and we're done." But no,
Right.
they stuck to it, and they went out and
We
got
did.
all that additional money
Yeah.
back to the town.
That's where I think the finance board overreacted. They made this thing look really bad, and it really wasn't. And I think that's what put bad taste in people's mouth, was their reaction to you guys going after $700,000. In reality, you were getting the money anyway. But did they ever come back and say, "Thank you for the 1.2 million"? Hell no.
No, you're right. Absolutely right.
So, that's what happens today. You accuse somebody of all this crap, people hear it, it stays in their mind, but they never come back and say, "Oh yeah, we fixed this." No, they never say that. So the finance board at that time, I thought, caused this whole chaos with the senior center.
But you know
see, now
what?
this is why I have Paul here. These little nuggets, that he drops.
Doesn't bother me.
No, I know.
I really don't care.
But you know what? In the end, everybody came through this. The senior center was built.
Yes.
Town of Griswold, it doesn't matter who comes to that senior center. It is remarkable. The number of people coming through that building has increased dramatically.
I was just going to ask you, talk about your vision, because you built the senior center, your staff 30 years out, and people are like, "What are you doing?
No.
It's huge, and we don't need this."
Let me
tell us
you.
about your
Yeah.
and tell us about membership and your vision and how that is playing out now.
The senior center is doing exactly what we predicted it would do, and it is growing. the number of people coming through that door. I know Lisa looked at me one day last week and I said, it's kind of like we've become a Cumberland Farms. So many new faces coming through the door and they want a tour. The programming is changing. We're getting not only our older seniors, but we're getting a whole bunch of new, younger senior faces. And they want a completely different type of programming. As a matter of fact, as we speak, the health department had a Tai Chi Chuan class, virtual, and they wanted us to participate in it. And we've got our first class going on up there right now. We've got 18 people in the main room. The room that we had designed for the exercise programs, we're using it for other things now. We have to use the big main room. The line dancing has blown up. The art classes, it doesn't matter what we've done. It has grown tremendously. And it's going to continue to grow because when we started designing and when you look at the national averages and the percentages, you have to look at what your senior population growth is going to be. So the figure that I got was by the year 2040, age 65 and over will increase by 58%. Now, that's not just for the town of Griswold, but that is on a national average. So do you want to be building another senior center or adding on to this one 10 years from now? I don't think so. But we are busy up there.
Oh.
And I think that after my retirement, whether it be in November or next year, depending on how the election goes, it will be time for me to pass the baton to fresh new set of thoughts, visions, to carry it forward for the next 40 years. So,
The Veterans Coffee House is up there now as well.
Right.
yes, thank you, Rich.
So I have a question that kind of really just kind of spins off of what you just said about retirement. So you said either this year or next year, depending on when what happens with this election.
Correct.
So let's say that you do win.
Yes.
You and Rich are on the board.
Mhm.
And what happens? Are you one and done, or do you continue on because you just dropped the retirement nugget there?
No. If I hold the position of first selectman, I will resign my position at the senior center because I think that the selectman, first selectman in particular, needs to be in that office every single day, realizing that, there are going to be meetings, council of government meetings, and that's fine. But I think that somebody needs to be in that office every single day. And I'm always at work earlier than I should be, so that it's just my work ethic. That's just the way I am. I think that people need to know when you're going to be out of the office, and I think they should know what your schedule is and what you're doing. I think that the residents deserve that. They should know.
It's no different than any other business.
Absolutely. You have to be accountable.
So I guess my question, was, if you win this time, will you run again?
Now that I will cross that bridge when I get there.
Okay.
It's enough work to get over this bridge, huh, Rich?
And Rich, let me ask you, I thought you retired.
Well, I thought
Are you busier now than you were before?
I wouldn't say I'm busier, but I sometimes I sit back and I say, well, how did I get anything done before when I was working?
I know.
But it's
I'm thrilled to be running with Rich. I really am. I just, he's got so much history and knowledge. And I think it's going to be, I know it's a great team. It's great.
The division between the town and the borough.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Rich immediately shook his head.
I don't feel this is a division. I don't.
No, maybe you guys right now,
Yeah.
but
It exists now.
it exists now. Obviously, they bought a building.
Yeah.
How do you view that? I mean, the borough has its own government, and I don't think a lot of people respect that, or some people don't, and they do their thing, and the borough is a happening place. And matter of fact, 90% of what goes on in this town happens in the borough. what would you guys do to kind of like say, okay, well, let's work together. Let's do this all as a team instead of you go there and we stay here.
I think there's some people have the misconception that it's that they're different. They're on their own, but they're really Griswold residents as well as being borough residents. You know, and that the fact that they have their own tax breaks and provide the services.
You point the mic. There you go, Rich.
Provide the services to their people that they pay for that. You know, but a lot of people sometimes forget that they are also Griswold residents and pay Griswold taxes. You know, I've always had my dealings with the borough has always been amicable. You know, we get along, we help each other out. You know, and that's the way it needs to be. If you create divisions, then you have more problems than you need to have. And I welcome them to be part of the community at all times.
And that word division came out again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a statement which I think should be addressed. Griswold missed the opportunity last month to apply for a STEEP grant, small town economic assistance program. STEEP, you know that, and missed a grant for $500,000 that the town could have used for a various amount of projects. How does this happen? And how do we even know that they even exist in the first place? And how do you all know that they exist?
At this point, we don't know. I can, I shouldn't say anything, but there's a person that I know. He's a Griswold resident. He's worked in Hartford. He just retired, but part of his function was economic development up in Hartford and helping small businesses find locations and get started and stuff like that. And he's told me over the years, not just now, but over the years, several times he's sent down messages. I have this person here that's interested in your area, and gotten no response. No response. So I think with Tina on board, that won't happen, because we'll definitely show an interest in finding out what it's about and who they're about and how they would fit into the community. And I understand that sometimes the first selectman's job is a very demanding one. It's not a 40-hour week by any stretch. It's a 24/7 job, and so sometimes things get lost in the shuffle, I suppose. But that's one area, specifically now as we go forward with economic development being a key issue. We're not passing up on anything. We're looking into everything.
Yeah, I think any amount of funding or any funding is probably.
But to the point on the steep, and I know where this is coming from because it did come up at one of the meetings that I was at recently. Some time ago, and I don't want to miss, and you may remember this, Rich. It may have been when Kevin Skolchuk was in office. I think the town stepped out of the steep program to go into another. And I don't want to say, because I don't remember what the other one was. But I think when you step out of the steep program and into the other, you're kind of locked in for a certain number of years. And I don't know if that has expired. I wrote it down.
Jennifer just said the Office of Policy Management, OPM, notifies every town CEO, which would be the first selectman, via email that there are programs to invite and to notify of deadlines. There was no response during this last one. And this year, she says they were notified that they could opt back in. And I guess the town of Griswold, according to Jennifer, did not re-opt in.
Okay.
For steep grants.
I thought that there was a steep grant put in by the town for Heritage Village, if you remember, for $18 million, where $6 million was going to go for the water tower,
Yeah.
and the other 12 was going to be for the infrastructure around Heritage Village.
Recently?
That was a while ago when they
About 4
put
or
that.
5 years ago, yeah.
That was like.
Oh, no, that was about a year ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they put that steep grant in to see if we get the money for the water tower. It failed. That's why they separated. That's why now they get another grant for the water tower, which they just got. But the steep grant was done. I remember that. Yeah. It was originally 18 million.
And I remember also it was like an all of a sudden thing.
Yeah.
You know how it was. I guess there was even concern if we were even going to make it the deadline.
Well, it was even a concern that why was the town putting in a steep grant to put infrastructure on Heritage Village? That was another concern. Why are we doing it for them?
Okay, well.
Because other town,
that's
other
enough.
businesses are going to. Why can't you do it for us?
Exactly. Yeah.
When you set a precedent, you better be careful which precedent you're setting.
Yeah.
So.
Let
do
me.
a little bit of homework.
I don't know who's learning more here. You guys are good. I appreciate you guys coming in this morning and telling people what you plan on doing, what your ideas are. Because the way this show works is that people watch in the mornings and people watch throughout the day and the week and right on through.
Whenever they can. So.
Yeah, and then they'll zip around, and get answers, and I think that to me, I think that's pretty important. I wanted to get back into one other thing here,
Sure.
and communication. We've kind of alluded to communication. You have, both of you. Do you have any plans set in place that if you were asked tomorrow, this is how I plan to communicate with the town, whether it be boards and commissions or residents and or both, what would you tell people that your plan would be?
Well, I think you want me to go?
Go ahead.
Okay, I think we talked a little bit about it before the show this morning about the whole social media thing. And those of you who know me, I am not the queen of social media. I'm learning slowly, but I still rely on guidance from a lot of people. So social media is really going to have to be, I would have to beef it up. Returning phone calls. There has to be somebody in that office to receive phone calls. And phone calls have to be returned in a very, very timely manner. Yep. Communicating with other commissions or boards, I would really have to start going to many more meetings. Okay, I currently go to the Board of Finance, I go to the Board of Selectmen meetings, and I also go to the borough meetings once a month.
And I have seen you there.
Yeah, I always try to go to those. Correspondence, I don't think mail really can't sit on a desk for any period of time. That all has to be addressed and taken care of. And if somebody comes into the town hall to speak with the selectman, the first selectman, they should be greeted and they should be seen. And whatever their concern is, it should be dealt with.
Kind of like Rich dealt with me. No, I'm serious. I mean, so I understand, and I can see how both of you are on the same page, as far as communication is concerned, which I think is something that we haven't seen, and I know the current first selectman is going to think that I'm taking a shot at her, and I'm not, but I don't think we've seen that communication in the last couple of years.
But
that's my opinion and my opinion only. So,
and you certainly are entitled to it.
Yeah.
what a lot of companies have is they have a person who does all the communication. All the communication goes through this one center person, and they're the one that communicate out to the people. I'm not saying that when you meet with vendors coming in or businesses coming in, that's really your responsibility.
Yes.
But take a look at what the borough does. Shockey doesn't communicate. It's done by Lori Sauter. She's their communicator. So it's
because he's delegated.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
So
they
I
all
think
have jobs.
So it's almost like the town has to do something similar where it has a person who's responsible for communicating out to the public
like a communications
on what's going.
director.
Yeah. Now, even doesn't have to title. It could be an existing person in town,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But that takes the burden off of you to do what you gotta do, but then you got one central person that talks with you to communicate. Every place has that.
Yeah, I don't even think Tim has any. He may.
Yeah.
You know, he may have social media accounts, but you're absolutely right. Lori Sorter is the one that does all the communications for the borough. And then when she put that page up for the borough, she's very active. And
Yeah.
I think there's been nothing but positive response, you know, to communication
definitely.
from that borough
Definitely.
page.
But even though she's doing that, Tim is always in the loop. They're always together
Exactly.
Absolutely.
and
Exactly.
communicating with each other, and they all everybody knows the same thing.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Well, it's funny because I'll say, "Hey, Lori, do you want to come in?" "Yeah, I'll bring Tim." "Tim, you want to come in?" "Yeah, I'll bring Lori." So, oh no, we didn't mean to say that there's no communication there. I think
no.
I think
there
there's more
definitely
communication
is.
than ever.
Yeah,
You know, so.
It's a well-oiled machine. Is that what I want to say? Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that the town could learn from the borough instead of
True.
the borough learning from the town. You know, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
little brother's got a lot of good information. So, anything else that Rich? I want to go ahead and just kind of give you the floor. Just tell people why do you vote for Rich Grabowski?
Well, I would just ask them to support us as a team, not just me, but we're going to bring the energy and the resources and everything to do a good job, and hopefully we'll be successful. It's certainly not going to be from lack of trying.
Okay, and Tina, same thing. Why vote Tina Falck for Selectman?
Because I really believe that Griswold can do better. I think that we can find ourselves in a much better position in terms of economic development. I think that through the communication, and you've heard me say it over and over again, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but I really want to work as a team with everybody in the town. And that includes the residents. It doesn't just include the people within the walls of the town hall. It's everybody. And reaching out and accepting those people reaching out to us.
Very good. Paul, do you have anything you want to add to that, or?
Good luck.
Thank you.
I think
Thank
we'll
you.
see you one more time at
I think
least
we have one more time, yes.
before
Yeah.
Before the election
Yes.
actually hits. So
Yep.
I know I appreciate both of you coming in this morning, as well as I'm sure the residents do.
Well, thank
You
you for
know.
giving us the time.
Thank you.
We
No
appreciate
problem.
it.
And we will keep tabs. And like I said, we'll see you guys again before probably
Count on it.
yeah, but probably right up close to election day.
Okay.
Month
We'll
away, a
have you
little
guys.
over a month.
I know.
Month
It's
away.
going so
It's exciting, isn't it? It is pretty exciting.
It is. But boy, the time
So.
is just ticking away.
Yeah, it's getting close.
Yeah. So
All right, Paul, thank you very much
Yep.
for coming on
Thank
in
you,
and
Paul.
actually
Thank you,
adding
Mike.
something to the show.
okay.
I didn't hear what he said.
I said actually adding something to the show
Oh, gee, thanks.
instead of a dad joke or something.
Oh, I got you.
Paul knows his stuff. So, Gina, thank you very much. Rich, thank you very much.
Thank you both.
All right, have a good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on SNSN, and we'll see you tomorrow with probably a wasp.